How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. Unlimited Welcome to Rathe is upon our doorsteps, and I figured now is the best time to share with y'all my top 10 favorite cards of the set. I kind of do this for every new set. I kind of missed out on Welcome to Rathe because I started in, after Welcome to Rathe had come out, right when Arcane Rising was coming out. I do have a top 10 list for Arcane Rising, as well as a top 10 list for Crucible of War, and I figured, you know what, it would be awesome and a lot of fun to do a top 10 favorite card list for Welcome to Rathe. A lot of this is going to be hindsight because I've actually already played with a lot of these cards, but I think it's a really fun list because Welcome to Rathe, as the first Flesh and Blood set ever, it's a awesome set. There's a lot of really cool cards in there. A lot of the cards on my list are very powerful, but I do have some super janky cards on my list as well. So, like I said, this is just a top 10 favorite cards, not the top 10 best cards of the set. We're gonna have a lot of fun in this video, so without further ado, let's do it.
Now, before we get started proper, I do want to mention two things. The first of which is that this is a list in no particular order. There are actually 12 cards on this list because I just couldn't contain it down to 10. I wanted to share with y'all all the cards that I really like. So the list is 12 cards. And also, if you're looking to pick up Flesh and Blood single product, I highly recommend checking out Fab Foundry. I do have an affiliate link in the description down below. They are excellent. They have an excellent service. They are shipping from the US. So if you are from the US, you'll save a lot on shipping. So you don't have to ship from a, New Zealand or Australian company. And the owner of the site does a lot of excellent work with the Flesh and Blood community. So once again, I highly recommend Fab Foundry. Now, without further ado, a second time, let's go on with the list. Like I said, this list is in no particular order. We're going to start off with Scabskin Leathers. This is the Brute legendary equipment. It is a leg. It does have a defense value of 2. It says once per turn action for a cost of 0, roll a 6-sided die, and right there, you already sold me. I love kind of die rolling mechanics in games, especially if they're really fun die rolling mechanics, and this one is. Gain action points equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. So, you can get anywhere between 0 and 2 action points from this, which is so good. Having your turn end up on a dice roll, and sometimes your turn can be excellent, or sometimes your turn can just be immediately over. I love cards like this. It adds a lot of variation into competitive play, but I like it particularly for fun, casual play, though this card is used in competitive Brute decks. It is a fantastic card. Also has Battle Worn, which means if you defend with it, you put a -1 counter on it when the combat chain closes, so it doesn't get destroyed. So you can use this multiple times and keep, getting your dice roll action on. I'll also note right now that there's not a ton of legendaries on this list. I just particularly like Scabskin Leathers, and Brute's not even my favorite class. This card is really cool. Next up is another Brute card, and I swear, Brute is not my favorite class. We have Sand Sketched Plan. This is a pretty sketchy card. This is a Brute action. It is one of these super rares from Welcome to Rathe that has a pitch value of 3, so it's a blue pitch card. Costs 0 to play, pretty good. Defense value of 3, Rhinar specialization, so you can only play this if your hero is Rhinar. And it says, search your deck for a card. Boom, sold me right there. But wait, there's more. Put it into your hand, discard a random card, then shuffle your deck. Dude, this is a gamble. I love it. This card is excellent. Well, it's not excellent. It's actually super janky because it also has more. It says, if the discarded card has 6 or more attack, gain 2 action points. So you can kind of get your action points back and then some, and also get a sweet card. However, sometimes you could discard the sweet card and then also your turn is over. So there's a lot of tricky stuff here. You definitely want to search for a card that has 6 or more attacks. So if you end up discarding the card that you got, you'll have at least 2 action points, though there are some circumstances where you wouldn't want to do that. I love this card. I don't think anyone plays with this card, and if you do, kudos. This card is crazy, and I love it. It's insane. I love cards like this. Next up is Showtime. I love this card. This is a Bravo specialization. It costs 3, does have a blue pitch value. It has a defense of 3, and it's an aura, which is very interesting. It says, when Showtime enters the arena, search your deck. Boom, done. Got it right there. But we got more. For a Guardian attack action, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. amazing. I love search effects. I love tutors. Being able to search for a card is excellent. And it also says at the beginning of your action phase, destroy, showtime, then draw a card. So your next turn, you will get to destroy this and draw an additional card. This is really great card value. This is really good for just setting up really, really big turns, which is what Bravo wants to do. He wants to set up really big turns and have these huge, heavy-hitting, crushing, crippling attacks, even crippling crush. And I really like this card quite a bit. I mean, it's also one of the first foils I've ever opened in my very first box of Welcome to Rathe, so there's a little bit of attachment there. But I think the card is excellent in every way. The art is fantastic too. It's just, it's the whole deal. It's the complete deal. And it's actually like a really good card used in competitive decks. Next up, we have a truly iconic card with Mask of Momentum. This is the Ninja Legendary. It is an equipment filling in the head slot. It has a once per turn effect. When an attack action card you control is the third or higher chain link in a row to hit, draw a card. Then it has Blade Break. So when you defend with it, it gets destroyed instead of getting like a -1 counter on it. It does have a defense of 2, which is not too bad, but you really don't want to be defending with this. If you're defending with your Mask of Momentum, something's gone horribly wrong in your game. And this card is so sweet. There are so many like things you want to do built around this. You really, if you're on the other side, you really want to make sure your opponent doesn't get a draw off a Mask of Momentum, because that's what Ninja wants, man. Ninja wants to hit you a bunch of times and then, keep the engine going, keep pumping out card advantage and, dealing damage to you. And that's what this card does. It's kind of tricky to get off. It's not a gimme, but it's incredibly powerful, especially when it does get off. And I mean, once again, truly iconic card. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful artwork by the talented Kate Fox. I actually have this as the artwork for my computer right now, for the wallpaper on my computer, because it's so beautiful. I love this card a lot. It's the real deal. This is one of the legendary cards that I'm missing that I really want to get a copy of. Next up is probably one of the cards that I've personally played the most ever since I started playing Flesh and Blood. It is Steel Blade Supremacy. This is one of the Dorinthia specializations. It is a Majestic. It is a red pitch value card that has a cost of 1. It does have a defense value of 3. It's a warrior action. And it says, until the end of turn, target weapon gains +2 damage. And whenever this weapon hits, draw a card, go again. Dude, that's not saying that the next weapon attack gains +2, and then when this hits, draw a card. It's for the entire turn. So if you can attack multiple times with your Dawnblade, or whatever weapon you're using, maybe this is the future and there's more weapons for warrior other than Dawnblade, and the Centauri Sabers, but come on, we're running Dawnblade here. It affects the entire turn, which is excellent. So excellent. So you can draw multiple cards from this, and you can kind of really, really go off. This card is fantastic. Windmill Slam must have for Dorinthia. Just like I said, one of my most played cards, because I play a lot of warrior. Specifically, I would play a lot of Dorinthia in Blitz, and I think this card is amazing. And I mean, also the art is just really, really good, so it's got that too. Next up is the other Dorinthia specialization, Singing Steelblade. This card is really sweet. This is a warrior attack reaction. It has a yellow pitch value, only costs 1 to play. It says target weapon attack gains +1 damage. But it also has Reprise, which means if the defending hero has defended with a card from their hand this chain link, search your deck for an attack reaction card, banish it face up, you may play it this chain link. This is so sweet. There's some really, really sweet cards you can go get with this. You can go get your, your Iron Song Response, which, costs 0, so you get an additional +3 attack to this weapon attack. Or if you wanted to go big, you can get a copy of Glint the Quicksilver, which would give your weapon attack go again, and then also draw a card from the Glint the Quicksilver. Singing Steelblade is fantastic. It is so much damage, but there's also some versatility there, because you can get cards, like Glint the Quicksilver. I like this card a lot. It's fantastic. The art is fantastic. Once again, complete package, and I've played this card a lot because I play a lot of Dorinthia in Blitz. Next up is the truly legendary and possibly infamous Fyendals Spring Tunic. I know, I had to put this on my list. I just really like this card. It's very powerful. It's one of the most expensive cards in the entire game right now. It's probably one of the best cards in the entire game right now, but it's just such a iconic, fantastic card from Welcome to Rathe. This is just a truly legendary card for Flesh and Blood. So what does it do? It's a generic equipment chest. It's a legendary. So you can put this in any deck, and a lot of people do put it in any deck. It says at the start of your turn, If it has less than 3 energy counters, you may put an energy counter on it. As an instant, you can remove 3 energy counters from it to gain a resource, and it also has blade break, so if you ever defend with it, it gets destroyed. Once again, if you're defending with your spring tunic, things have gone horribly wrong, or the game is about to end. This card slowly gains you incremental resource advantage, and a big part of Flesh and Blood is just about incremental advantage. The Spring Tunic allows you to do things on certain turns that you would not otherwise be able to do, which is why it's so good. Getting that extra resource, especially if you're running a very lean deck, if you're running Ranger or Warrior, for example, just getting that extra resource is quite good because a lot of your actions only cost a single resource. So just being able to do that is fantastic. This card is amazing. If you had to pick any single legendary to get, it would hands down be the Spring Tunic. If cost wasn't an issue, because it is kind of an expensive card. Also, the artwork is absolutely gorgeous and iconic. This is, once again, the complete package. This will be a truly legendary card from this set. I mean, as long as Flesh and Blood is around, and I truly believe that Flesh and Blood will be around for a very long time, this is one for the history books. Next up, we have another equipment, pretty innocuous one. We have the Snapdragon Scalers. This is a generic equipment. Legs has a defense value of 0. It says attack reaction, destroy Snapdragon Scalers, target attack action with cost 1 or less, gains go again. That's pretty sweet. This card is very innocuous, but it goes in so many decks. I mean, some people even run this over Majestic equipment for their respective class. So, for example, I've seen a lot of Ranger players still run the Snapdragon Scalers over their Perch Grapplers, which is, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, this card is replacing or, staying in over, really powerful Majestic equipment, because just being able to give, your action card go again can make some turns really, really explosive. So yeah, overall, Snapdragon Scalers is just a fantastic card that sees play on a lot of different decks, and it's just a common. It's a very innocuous card, but I just really like it a lot. It's one that I find, using in a lot of decks, and I never feel bad about it, especially, it's just a common, and it's just a really sweet, good common that everyone has access to, so I like this card a lot. Next up, we have a very interesting card with Last Ditch Effort. This is a super rare. It's a generic attack action. It has a blue pitch value. It costs 3 to play. It has a defensive 3, 4 attack damage, and it says when you play Last Ditch Effort, if you have no cards in your deck, it gains +4 and go again. This card is very interesting. It's really, really good in controlling and grinding decks where you really want to grind out your opponent and you're only going to have a couple cards left in your deck, and when you're down to it and you have like no cards in your deck, boom, Last Ditch Effort, 8 damage, play another Last Ditch Effort, 8 damage, for the close. This card is very interesting. I think it makes certain decks viable single-handedly. It really, really helps promote those kind of like super grindy matchups or those super grindy decks. I'm not a huge fan of those super grindy decks, honestly, but I think cards like this are necessary, and I think they're very, very interesting, and that's why it makes it on my list. It's a very weird and interesting card, and just because of that, I really like it. Next up, we have Time Snap Potion. This is another truly iconic card from Welcome to Rathe. This is a generic action item with a blue pitch value, cost 0. It says action, destroy Time Snap Potion, gain 2 action points. This card lets you do things that no other card lets you do. It's a very unique card. Any class can play this, and just being able to store up action points for when you really need them, to make like a really, really explosive turn is just so sweet. There's like infinite possibilities with this card, which is why I love it. So many decks already use this. I mean, so many decks use this. This is a truly like excellent all-around card that I know will see play for a very, very long time. I mean, it'll probably see play throughout Flesh and Blood's entire existence, and unless it gets banned or something. I don't think it'll get banned. It's not that good, but who knows? Maybe something later comes out and makes this card broken or something like that. But right now, it's fantastic. It's really, really good in classes like Wizard. It's really good and just generic classes in general. I mean, you can play this in almost any class, and it's just so good. Maybe not in like Ninja or something, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe Time Snap Potion is just so good. And every time I make a deck, I always think to myself, do I want to put Time Snap Potion in this deck? And that's just a really good sign that the card is excellent. So our second to last card we talk about today is Crazy Brew. This card is crazy, and I love it. I love the randomness of this. I love the crazy. This card is awesome. So Crazy Brew is another potion. It is a generic action item with a blue pitch value, cost of 0, and it says action: destroy Crazy Brew, roll a 6-sided die. Once again, you sold right there. On a 1 or 2, lose 2 health, go again. On a 3 or 4, gain 2 health, go again. On a 5 or 6, gain 2 resources, 2 action points, and your next attack this turn gains +2. Crazy Brew is such a fun card. I love this card in like limited formats, like in draft or sealed or something. It's just so crazy. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's real bad, and sometimes it's like amazing. Crazy Brew is so much fun, especially with stuff with like gambler's gloves. I don't know, maybe someday there'll be some sort of like dice rolling deck where you put like maybe like a brute dice roll deck where you put like Crazy Brew, and you got your Scabskin, and you got your gambler gloves, and all a bunch of dice roll cards. Man, I can just imagine the fun times you can have with that. Maybe even like a kind of a more casual environment like Ultimate Pit Fight or something like that, which is the multiplayer format for Flesh and Blood. If you didn't know, there is a multiplayer format. It is called Ultimate Pit Fight. I think cards like this would just be so much fun in there. So much fun. I love Crazy Brew. It's just a crazy, awesome card. And the final card today, and my absolute favorite card in Flesh and Blood right now, not just from Welcome to Rathe, but single favorite card in Flesh and Blood, is Enlightened Strike. Now this card is arguably one of the best cards in the entire game, if not the best card in the entire game. It's also one of the first chase cards I ever pulled. In fact, it was in the very first box of Welcome to Rathe I ever opened, and it was in a foil Enlightened Strike. So this card is very near and dear to me, but it also just happens to be, you know, one of the best cards in the entire game. Like I said, if not the single best card in the game. So what does Enlightened Strike do? It is a majestic. It has a red pitch value, cost of 0, has 5 attack, 3 defense, so 5 attack for 0 is already pretty nuts. And it says, as an additional cost to play Enlightened Strike, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So you do have to have another card in your hand. You can't just dump it, but you know, that's not a huge deal. It says choose 1, draw a card, which is pretty good. It lets you immediately replace that card that you put on the bottom of your deck, so you can kind of, you know, dig for answers if you really need to. It also says Enlightened Strike gains +2 damage, which is probably the most common, you know, one chosen from this list. A lot of folks will just do like, you know, 0 cost, 7 damage, you know, come at me. Or you can also give Enlightened Strike go again. This card is so good. You know, a 0 cost, 5 damage, go again is amazing. 0 cost, 5 damage, you know, tuck a card, draw a card is amazing. 0 cost, 7 damage card is just so good. And the way I like to think about it is that the card that you put from your hand on the bottom of your deck is kind of like the pitch for the card. So, you know, instead of having a pitch value, it's just whatever card is in your hand, it goes immediately on the bottom of your deck. So it doesn't actually have a cost of 0, even though it technically has a cost of 0 for cards that care about cards that cost 0. Enlightened Strike is just such an amazing, iconic card. And we haven't even talked about the art yet. Look at the art, dude. The first time I saw this card, I didn't even know it was a big chase, you know, expensive card. I just saw the artwork and I was like, this card has to be amazing. They wouldn't have given a card this art unless it was truly exceptional. And turns out it's basically the best card in the game, you know, arguably. I wouldn't be surprised if Enlightened Strike stays my favorite card in Flesh and Blood for a very, very long time. I just absolutely love this card. So that'll do it for today's top 10 favorite cards of Welcome to Rathe. If you liked the video, then leave a like, comment, subscribe. Every little bit helps, and I appreciate it oh so much. If you'd like to support me directly, definitely check out my Patreon. I have some tiers there where I give cards back to you. It's, you know, kind of my way of saying thanks for supporting me. It's a great way to support me and also get some cards back. So for example, I have some tiers there where I give you some random, you know, rares and foils back, and I also have some tiers there that are a little bit higher where I give you sealed booster packs of the latest set out. Currently we're doing Crucible of War, but my Crucible of War patron box is almost out. I'm not sure if I can find another box of Crucible of War, and if I can't, we'll probably swap to Welcome to Rathe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time for some more Flesh and Blood content. We'll see you later.